Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. Welcome to my monthly series on the best games coming to retail. Every month I run through about 25 or so of the games that are hitting retail that month. And I've been doing this series for about a year and a half, and I started it partly because a lot of places cover the games coming to Kickstarter, and I don't have the patience for Kickstarter. I want my games now, okay? I want to buy a game and then get a game. I don't want to buy a game and then wait a year and a half and hope that I get it one day. I want to get the games now. And, also, these are sometimes cheaper as well. Yeah, you might not have all of the upgrades or whatever, but I like less money. And so that's why I started doing this game's coming to retail. So every month we got a lot of games hitting retail. These are, friendly local game stores, online marketplaces, things like that. Let's get into it. This is March 2023. Best games coming to retail. 25th Century Games is releasing Motor City, and this is from the same designers as Three Sisters and Fleet the Dice game. And while all of the games are not thematically connected at all, they're very different themes, they're a bit mechanically connected in that they're all more crunchy roll and write games. They are roll and write games with a lot of different paths to victory, a lot of different options, and a lot of different combos. And that's what makes them really fun, is that every time you play the game, you can try something different. You can see if something works. They have a lot of replayability, and there's a lot of fun cascading effects. You're like, I get this, and then that gets me this, and then that gets me this, and then this gets me this. Motor City is about, car manufacturing in the heyday of Detroit. So if you like car stuff, this will be even better for you, but I'm not a big car guy, and this game I've played multiple times and really enjoyed because of the mechanisms in it. The coolest thing about the game is the dice drafting system. You will roll dice, put them on a board, and then every time you take a dice, you get three things. You get the special ability of the spot on the board you took, you get the special ability of the dice face, and you get the special ability of the place you put it on your sheet. And that's just so satisfying to get all of that stuff from one dice. AEG is releasing Rolling Heights, and this Rolling Heights has one of my favorite and most underutilized mechanisms, which is rolling meeples. You will be rolling meeples, and then based on the way they land, you'll get to use them to do cool stuff. In this game, if a meeple lands upright, then they will do work for you, and if they land, faced flat, then no work. They're taking a nap. They don't want to do anything. And there's also a push your luck aspect in the game. You can continue, you roll some flat meeples, you can keep pushing your luck. But if you ever roll everything flat, then you're out of luck, And I love that mechanism. It adds a little bit of excitement into a game that would otherwise be, pretty dry. Like, there's a lot of strategy in Rolling Heights, and the rolling meeples just adds a little unknown to the game. It's a city building game at its core. You will be stacking little cubes and scoring tiles in different ways and that sort of thing. So if you're a fan of city building games, then, this is one that looks really cool on the table when you're done too. There's all these different towers on the board and stuff like that. It's quite Instagrammable the way it looks. All Play, which is formerly known as Game Tables, but is changing their name, is releasing Fiction, and this is a Barnes & Noble exclusive. So if you're interested in Fiction, check it out at Barnes & Noble. Fiction is a game for Wordle lovers. If you jumped on the Wordle hype train over the last couple years and you're obsessed, then you definitely gotta check out Fiction, because it was literally made for you. The description of the game even says a game for Wordle people or something. I forget what it says on it, but it literally mentions Wordle on it, so they know that they're doing Wordle stuff. But it's adding lying and deception to the game of Wordle. So like Wordle, you are trying to figure out a word over multiple successive rounds, and you will learn whether a letter is in the word or not in the word or that sort of thing. But in this game, one player plays as the librarian, L-I-E-brarian, because they can lie about one of the letters in the word. So it adds some logic and some deduction into the game because, they can only lie about one letter. So you can look back at previous clues and go, okay, well, if this is a lie, then we know this to be true. But if this is true, then this is a lie. And so you're trying to slowly figure out the game over 10 different rounds. But it's not slow. I shouldn't have said slowly because it's not slow. You are literally on the clock. You get a 10-minute timer for 5 rounds, then you can pause and talk about things, and then you get a 10-minute timer for the next 5 rounds. So you got to figure it out in 20 minutes. Can you do it? I've played the game multiple times, and it is difficult, but feels pretty good when you figure out the word. You feel pretty accomplished. If you're a fan of war games, then Ares Games is releasing a couple of war games to retail this month, one of which is Saigon 75. This is a 2-player only game, or you can play it as a solo game, but it is a 1 to 2 player game in which you're playing as the struggle between North and South Vietnam from 1973 to 1975. In the end of the Vietnam War. So if you're interested in the Vietnam War, if you like history, if you like war games, then this is one to check out. Definitely a medium weight war game. And the other one that Ares is releasing to retail this month is We Are Coming Nineveh. I hope I'm saying that right. This is also a 1 to 2 player game, and it is a war game. And this is, the theme of this one is, it's the Iraqi government campaign to liberate the western area of the city of Mosul from the forces of Daesh between February 19th and July 9th, 2017. So this has a very modern feel to it. This is literally only a few years ago. So, again, if you're a fan of war games, Ares is known for that. That is what they do, is war games. And so, if you like war games, check them out. Breaking Games is releasing the party game Mansplaining. And actually, the platform that I'm most well known on, that I'm most popular on, is TikTok. And this was designed by a fellow board game TikToker. So that makes me very excited. Mondo Davis, shout out to him. And also designed by Fortessa, another great designer. But in this game, this is a up to 8-player party game where you are mansplaining topics to people. And if you don't know what mansplaining is, it is when a man explains to you, so that's what mansplaining is, what I just did right there. But in the game, you have a topic, and then you get a few detail cards, and you have to use the words from the detail cards to explain the topic, but you can't use words on the topic card, and so you're trying to explain a topic without using keywords, and then everybody else guesses what you were explaining. What was the topic you were just explaining? So, laughter ensues. It is definitely a game that is eliciting laughter from the group and is very silly and fun. So yeah, that's if you like party games, check out Mansplaining. Capstone Games is releasing La Famiglia: The Great Mafia Wars. This is a 4-player only game. Literally, it only plays at 4 players. But one of the cool things about it is a 2v2 game, and you are all playing as the heads of different mafia families. So I'm playing on a team, but we are actually controlling 2 different families and doing our own things. We're just trying to ally and help each other, but we still have our own game to play and our own decisions to make. And I like, I don't feel like there's a lot of great team games out there. It's definitely an underutilized mechanism in the board game hobby. And so that's one of the things that makes me, excited about this one. That's one of the things that makes this one stand out to me. And I like that it's not just cooperative between you. You and your teammate are still making your own decisions and controlling your own things. There is an area control aspect to the game. You are trying to fight over different areas of the board, and the win conditions is when, either one family gets a certain amount or when the two families combine to get a certain amount. And it is I would put it in terms of weight, I suppose it would be more of like a lighter heavyweight game. It's probably still in that heavy category, but maybe on the little bit lighter side of that. Plays in 120 to 180 minutes. And the theme of Mafia families, fighting over supremacy of Sicily. Maybe you could drink wine while you play it. Maybe you could eat pasta while you play. Maybe you can do a stereotypical accent. Don't do that. People don't like that. Capstone Games is also releasing Joan of Arc. We mentioned earlier Motor City being a little bit of a crunchy roll and write. Joan of Arc is also in that genre of crunchier roll and writes. It's a roll and write with theme and with a lot of decision space and stuff like that. This one is more of a draw and write. You're not rolling dice per se. And it is actually an adaptation of the game Orleans? Orleans? I always forget. Orleans. Okay, well, that's gonna leave messed up. But this is a 1 to 5 player game, and I did get a chance to play it at PAX Unplugged. And I've never played Orleans before, and so I will say I played it with multiple people who have played Orleans, and multiple people who now I feel like I just have to say it differently every time I say it. I have I played the game with multiple people who had played Orleans, and also with a couple people who had never played Orleans, and so it was. Everybody at the table enjoyed the game. Everybody had a good time. I think the people that knew the game that this was based on got more out of it and also could jump into it quicker. They felt that real thematic connection and, oh, I love that in the main game. This is fun to see here. But then everybody else still really enjoyed it as well. We didn't have, a basis to which to compare it, but it's still a really good game with a lot of fun options and still has those cascading choices and a lot of different paths to victory and stuff. So if you are a fan of Orleans, check out this draw and write adaptation of it. Or if you're just a fan of like crunchy roll and write type of games, then this is a good one for you as well. Cryptozoic is releasing the party game Rotten Tomatoes, the card game. So, if you want to be a critic, a movie critic, this is your chance. So, actually, that is not what you're doing in the game. You are guessing on the tomato meter score for classic movies, famous movies, that sort of stuff. So, you're guessing what people have to say about it on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's the main way where you're ranking different movies based on their tomato meter score, trying to guess where they would fit in a ranking system. There's also wild cards in the game, and these add a little bit more fun silliness. It'll say like, name the 2 top billing actors in this movie, and the fastest person to say it is gonna win that card. The other nice thing about this game is it plays up to 20 players. It is a party game that plays 20 players, and we don't see that very often. Most party games tap out at like 8, 10, 12. It is nice to have a game that you can play with 20 players. Do I have 20 friends that would come over for it? That's a little more debatable, but it's cool to know that it exists. It's a 2 to 20 player game that plays in about 20 minutes, and it's about movies. And everybody loves movies, so that's fun. Fantasy Flight Games, in association with Asmodee, is releasing Star Wars The Deckbuilding game. And this is a two-player only head-to-head combat deck building game. One player plays as the Empire and one player plays as the Rebel Alliance. And so, you know, all the characters you know and love from Star Wars are in the game. And, you know, it's definitely got like a Star Realms type of feel, right? Head to head, making our deck stronger, trying to defeat the other person. In this game, you're not trying to defeat their health, you're trying to defeat their base. Both players will have some bases. But the cool thing, the different thing about this game is in the market row where you can buy cards from, there are essentially cards for your team, cards for the other team, and neutral cards. And so I can buy a card for my team and add it to my deck, and hopefully, you know, it comes up and helps me during the game. But you can also destroy or fight cards that are in the marketplace for the other player. Oh, I don't want you to get this card in your deck, so I'm going to destroy that card before you can get it, you know? Luke Skywalker is too powerful. I'm going to focus my attention on eliminating Luke Skywalker before he even gets into your deck. Now, that means I'm not, you know, spending my resources on getting a card for myself. Rather, I'm spending resources to hurt you, but it's an interesting decision space that we haven't seen in deck building games before. You know, I like that the cards have either one team, the other team, or neutral cards in the marketplace. It makes it feel different in the deck building genre, especially the two-player, you know, head-to-head deck building genre. I'm excited about that one. You know, it's definitely a lighter medium weight game, plays in 30 minutes there. Fun Again Games is releasing All Time Wrestling Legends Edition. So this is a game, you know, that's focused on the world of wrestling, but this brings a bunch of legends into the game. You know, people like Andre the Giant, Randy Savage, British Bulldog, you know, classic names from the world of wrestling. It's an asymmetric game where each wrestler has their own unique player boards, their own unique abilities, their own unique deck of attack cards, that sort of stuff. So again, this is a two-player only head-to-head game as well. We are playing as wrestlers instead of Star Wars characters and fighting each other here. You know, plays in 20 to 40 minutes. And if you like, it's got like that sort of old video game artwork to it and stuff. It's a lot of fun. Gale Force 9 is releasing Doctor Who Nemesis to retail this month. In the game, you are not playing as Doctor Who, you are playing as one of 4 classic Doctor Who Nemesis. So, do you want to play as the bad guy? This is your chance. This is your chance to play as one of the bad characters. And you are, not only are you trying to thwart Doctor Who, you're also trying to be the biggest bad of the bads. You are fighting against other players that are controlling other bad guys from the Doctor Who universe. So, you know, can you be the most villainous of all the villains? See? I'm going to start waxing my mustache and being a classic villain. So you're sending out your minions to fight people. You're doing a lot of different things. If you're a fan of Doctor Who, then, you know, this has all the characters you know and love there. So check it out. Hachette Board Games, in association with Sorry We Are French, is releasing Gosu X. This is another two-player only game where you are fighting against each other, a head-to-head game. But this one is all about comboing cards together. You build up your army using cards from a deck made of 3 different clans. And there are 8 clans in the game, and so the game starts by us drafting different clans. We are going to draft the clans that we want to add to our army, and then the 2 unchosen clans actually change the rules of the game. So, you know, every time you're playing it, if it's two different unchosen clans, it's going to change the rules slightly and stuff like that. Makes it replayable, makes it interesting there. So there's a lot of different ways to win. You can get 2 supremacy tokens, you can unlock 5 activation tokens, or you can have 15 face-up cards in your army, or there are even alternate victory conditions. So yeah, this is one that plays in 20 to 40 minutes, and you know, you do a draft and then you fight each other with immortal clans. Gosu X. I mean, anything, you put X in the name of anything, it just sounds cool, you know? This is Gosu X. I'm going into Dollar Tree X. What is that? It's the extreme version of Dollar Tree. I don't know why Dollar Tree just popped into my head right now, but that seems like a ridiculous place to have X in the title. Oh. Asmodee, in association with Helvetique, is releasing the small family game Tucano? Tucano, probably, because it's about toucans. So Tucano. This is a set collection card game, definitely very light, very quick, plays in 15 minutes for 2 to 4 players, but it's got very bright, vibrant artwork, so I could see this game being a game that kids get into because of how fun it looks on the table. And, you know, it's got an interesting main decision mechanism, but it's also one that's easy to wrap your head around. There are 3 piles of cards, and you are going to take one of the piles of cards and then add cards to all 3 of the piles. So, you know, do you want to grab one that has a bunch of cards in it? Do you want to grab one that has a card you need in it? You know, that sort of stuff. And, you know, it's set collection. So, again, this is a family weight one. You can play it with children as young as 6, they say. So if you're looking for a bright, vibrant family game, check out Tucano. Indie Boards and Cards is releasing the game Astro Knights. So this is being described by some as sort of a spiritual successor to Aeon's End. Aeon's End, if you haven't played, is one of the few cooperative deck building games where you never shuffle your deck. How you add cards into your discard pile is how you will get them out of there and that sort of stuff, so you can sort of set your deck and plan for future turns and that sort of stuff. It's a really interesting way to do it. Aeon's End, great cooperative game. You're fighting bad guys. It's a lot of fun. And Astro Knights is the same thing in the sense that it is also a cooperative deck building game where there's no shuffling required. So it shares that in common with Aeon's End. But this one is being described as a bit easier to get into. Maybe a little bit less fiddy, a little less fiddly, a little less rules overhead, that sort of stuff. So you can jump into it. You know, it's still a medium weight game. You know, this is not like a light party game or family game or whatever. There's still a bunch of stuff going on in it, but it's maybe a little bit easier to jump into than Aeon's End. It streamlines a bunch of stuff. And from what I'm seeing from a lot of people are liking the changes. People are liking how you know, quick this is to get into and play and that sort of stuff. It plays 1 to 4 players and takes only about 45 minutes to play a game. So that, you know, that's pretty exciting. I love a solid game that plays in an hour or under. That's kind of my wheelhouse for sure. And you know, similar goal here. You're trying to defeat a boss before it destroys your team or the homeworld you're defending. So can you do it? Because you got to do it together. Cooperative. Cosmos is releasing the small box dice game High Score to retail here. This came out a few years ago, but it only came out in, I believe, a German edition. So this is the North American edition. And I guess this is a good time to mention that this video is specifically for North American releases because that's where I live. So, you know, that's when we're talking about retail releases, we're talking about North American retail releases here. I don't know everything that's going on in Europe. They're doing their own thing. So High Score is a dice rolling game, but every game you turn over a new challenge card, and that card is going to dictate how dice score that round and also how you can re-roll dice. So there might be a round where even numbered dice score a bunch, or a round where even numbered dice don't score at all. Things like that. So you're always trying to think about how to, re-roll dice and how to score points with your dice. A lot of dice rolling in the game, not a lot of theme in it. It's not really about the theme, it's just about rolling dice. So if you're a fan of rolling dice, check this one out. This is a lightweight game, also, family weight, can play kids, and plays in about 30 minutes, 2 to 5 players. Left Justified Studio is releasing the game Broken and Beautiful, and this is a game I covered a year or so ago when they had a Kickstarter, and now they're having their retail release, and I love the game. It's such a good game. It's about kintsugi, which is the Japanese art form where when pottery breaks, they use golden lacquer to repair the pottery, and it becomes more valuable after it's been repaired than it was before it was broken. And this game really reflects the beauty of that art form. All the cards, the artwork is really gorgeous. I almost think of this game, it's a drafting game, it's a card drafting game, and different things are going to score you points in different ways. So it sort of feels like a more strategic and more beautiful version of Sushi Go. It's that easy to jump into card drafting of Sushi Go and the variable scoring of the different things, but there's more depth in strategy here, I feel like, of what you're going for. Now, the retail edition, like most retail editions, there are some things that are going to be better about it and some things that, might not be as good for you. For instance, there are metal, in the deluxe edition, there are metal ingots, gold ingots, and in this version, those are wood. But the benefit is this version is half of the size of the retail game. And so it becomes a game that's only about that big. The retail version of this game is a game you can fit in your pocket. And if you ask me to rank pocket games, this is in my top 5 of all time, for sure. I play a lot of games with my roommates at my house, and we still come back and play this game, which doesn't happen for a lot of them, that are coming in all of the time. A year later, we're still playing this game regularly. So, if you want a small box card drafting game, Broken and Beautiful, awesome. Looney Labs is releasing Across America Fluxx. So Fluxx is a really silly and fun and, somewhat strategic card game system. In Fluxx, there's been a ton of versions. I mean, we're probably at 20 different versions at this point, but the cards that are in the game change the rules of the game as you're going. So it's unpredictable, it's wacky, it's fun. A game can take 10 minutes, a game can take an hour. You never really know because it depends on the win condition of the game you're playing at that time. Well, Across America Fluxx is the same gameplay as Fluxx. It's still part of that same system. But in this one, you're traveling across the United States and you're checking out famous landmarks and national parks. Think the Golden Gate Bridge, Statue of Liberty, Grand Canyon, stuff like that. So if you don't want to go on a road trip, but you want to go on a road trip in your mind and in your game, Across America Fluxx is for you. Asmodee, in association with Matago, is releasing Revive to retail this month. And this is a time where I should say, this is not an exact science, obviously, when we're talking about games coming to retail. I get all of this information straight from publishers, and so this is the best available information as when I'm recording it. But, sometimes stuff changes and delays happen. So I actually originally included Revive on my list for January because they thought it was going to hit retail. And then production delays and shipping, things like that. Unfortunately, the world we live in, there's still a lot of delays all the time. Games, that sort of thing. So Whereas I said Revive was going to come out a couple months ago, now it's coming out, and they're pretty certain this time that it is coming out. And if you haven't heard about Revive, it is a game that made a lot of best games of the year top 10 lists at the end of 2022, because some people got a hold of it at Essen and things like that, and so it hit a lot. It's a game that a lot of people really love. If you want a Euro game that's got really cool mechanisms and also theme tied to it, this is a really good one to check out. It is that sort of heavy medium weight category, you know, probably still falls in the medium weight, but at the top of the echelon of that. The theme of the game is you are trying to revive civilization 5,000 years after the fall of mankind. I saw this being played at BGG-Con a lot in November, and a lot of my friends walked away going, this was my favorite game of the convention. This was the game I liked the most. So again, if you were a fan of Euro games with this has asymmetric player powers too, and that sort of stuff, and it's got a highly variable setup. There's no fighting or direct conflict, so it's not about being mean to each other or anything like that. If you're a fan of that sort of stuff, then Revive is a real tight game and worth checking out. Ravensburger is releasing a couple of family party games to retail this month. The first of which is Pinata Blast. So in Pinata Blast, you drop a bunch of dice and then scramble to grab dice that match the faces of the cards you have in your hand. But there are going to be some rotten candy cards, so oh no! Try to avoid the rotten candy. This is another one that, real family weight can play as young as 6 or 7. And I love the connection. The dropping the dice and scrambling to grab stuff feels like an actual pinata. I feel like I'm back at my 3rd grade birthday party playing Pinata Blast. The other game that Ravensburger is releasing is That's Not a Hat. This is a party game for up to 8 players that plays very quickly, 15 minutes, and there is memory involved in the game. You will be offering cards as gifts to other players, but, a lot of the cards are seen and then put face down, and so you are trying to keep track of where cards are and who's getting offered them as gifts, and then more cards will be added to the game. And one of the things is, you can also bluff. If you don't know what this is, you're like, hello, I'd like to give you a duck. And then the other player can either go, I don't know what that is either. I guess I'll accept your gift. Or they could say, that's not a duck. And if they flip it over, whoever was right then doesn't have to take the card. And if you earn 3 cards, you're out of the game. So, silly memory type party game. Flat River Group, in association with Sit Down Games, is releasing the game Tiwanaku. This game was originally announced as Pachamama, so if you ever heard of the game Pachamama, this is the same game. It is just now being called Tiwanaku. And this is a deduction style game, a medium weight deduction style game, sort of in the same world of like a Search for Planet X or something like that, where there's some real interesting decisions to be made. There's going to be different tiles out there, terrain tiles, there's going to be crop tiles, all of these different things. There are 30 scenarios, 30 problems in the game. So every one, it's got this really cool, I don't even know what you call it. It's got this really cool board that you hold, and you can move some levers and see some things, and that's going to give you different solutions and give you different information. And so you slide cards into that, and there are 30 different ways to do it, and each of them is going to have a single result, a single solution on the board, and you are trying to figure out that solution. Certain things can't be next to other things, and there's different sort of rules that have to be followed, and every scenario that you play is going to have a different rule and a different solution. So if you are a fan of logic and deduction games, then Tiwanaku is, you know, it's sort of like a Minesweeper but with theme to it and artwork and cool artwork and that sort of stuff. You know, that's Tiwanaku. Skybound Games is releasing the party game Whine Night, and this is about whining. This is a storytelling game, for sure. It's a very light game, can play up to 8 players, but you are just revealing prompts, and then everybody is answering the prompt with a story or an opinion or things like that, and then all the players get to vote on you know, who had the best story there. And it is very much focused on, you know, stuff that you find annoying, things like that. You know, this is not a like, hey, let's all talk about the most inspirational moment we had. No, it's like, talk about the most annoying part of cooking, or what's the most annoying part of a road trip for you, or things like that. And so this is your opportunity to get to whine about things. You know, your friends don't want to listen to you whine normally. This is your chance to whine. This is your chance to complain, is play this game. And you can complain about what the game tells you to complain about. Snowbright Studio is releasing to retail Birds of a Feather, and this is in Barnes & Noble. This is another one of those Barnes & Noble releases. This is a sort of a re-implementation of a game that came out in 2015, but now this has all new artwork. There's some more depth of gameplay in it. You are bird watchers, and so you are trying to see birds and mark them off on your score sheet. But one of the interesting parts of the game is that if I play a bird that is in the same habitat as a bird that another player plays, I get to mark off both of them. And then all of those birds go into this lingering birds area, and then we get to play new birds, and then we get to score all of them together. And then, you know, so there's an interesting depth of play in that, of thinking about what's going to come up, or what do I need to play? How do I maximize? Well, that terrain, I wasn't originally going to play this, you know, habitat type, but that bird's from that habitat, and I want to score that habitat, so I guess I got to play this one so I can score that bird too. So, you know, and it's very beautiful for sure. The artwork in it is really gorgeous, of different birds and in natural spaces. It looks really nice on the table. And, you know, it is a 20 to 30 minute game, plays up to 7 players, so that's one of the things I like about it too. A strategy card game that plays a little bit more people, which is nice to have that option. Think Fun is releasing the game Freefall, and this is a logic and skill game that puts your spatial reasoning and dexterity to the test. You are building this puzzle with toy-like mechanisms and then flipping, turning it, and guiding the ball from cup to cup to finish the maze. So you are building a maze and then trying to, you know, get the ball to the end of the maze. There are 60 different challenges in the game, so, you know, if you want a game that has a real toy factor to it, Freefall definitely has that. And it plays ages 8 and up. So, yeah, there we go. WizKids is releasing the game Marvel Age of Heroes. This is a worker placement game that is all about the X-Men. And that's one of the things that made me really excited about this one is, you know, we have had a lot of games about like Avengers type of superheroes, but not a lot about about X-Men specifically. And X-Men is what I grew up on and what I loved. X-Men is what I wanted. And so in this game, you are controlling 2 X-Men. Every player is controlling 2 X-Men, and you are placing them out on the board to, you know, upgrade their powers, and you're playing through 3 unique and challenging scenarios. There are 3 scenarios in the game that you can play through. All of the characters have asymmetric abilities, you know, they have different scoring conditions, all of that sort of stuff. So, you know, it's just fun. Who can better, like, train their mutants, manage their skills, outpace their competition. I love the fact, all of our favorite X-Men are in this game. We got Gambit, we got Wolverine, we got Rogue, we got Jubilee, we got so many of the X-Men that you love here. I'm just excited about that. And I like the idea that you're controlling multiple X-Men too, so you get to put it out and defeat villains and complete objectives. So thanks for making this one, Whiz Kids. I'm excited to get into it. So that's what I got for you this month. Those are the best games coming to retail in March 2023. I also do a best expansions coming to retail video due to popular demand. A lot of people were asking for that, so I started to do that. That typically comes out, 5 days a week after this video does, so check back. This video does take a lot of work to communicate with about 400 different publishers to find out what's coming to retail. So if you want to support the series and me and the work that I do, you can check out Patreon. It's at patreon.com/GrantsGameRex, and there's some cool, perks on there and stuff as well. I hope you found a game that you're excited about. One of my goals with this video is to include all different types of games, right? We've got Euro games, we got party games, we got family games, so everybody can find a game that speaks to them here, because we have so many. The board game hobby is just in such a great place right now. We got so many good games coming out all the time. It just makes me excited. It makes me feel grateful to be part of this hobby all the time. So thanks so much for being here. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and share the video. I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex.